I thought I'd do a quick review over the guns we're using and talk a little bit about the MDT chassis that I just put on my Rogue. I've had it out test firing it now. So first off, the gun that my wife's using is a really cool, really light little gun. It's a Mountain Reaper. It's got an 18-inch barrel on it. It's got the Nix brake on it. It's a 6.5 Creedmoor, which is nice. I really like the folder on it. It's super quiet. So, if you really mind it, you can really deploy it quietly, which is nice. It's got Arca rail through the center. Then it's got the bipod on it right now. We've been using it mainly on the tripod. A pretty cool little gun. It's got a Zeiss V6 3-18 by 50 scope on it. All the rifles do. It's my go-to scope. I just love this scope. The mechanics are beautiful, and the reliability of it and the crystal clear glass is really nice. This one's just got a duplex reticle in it. The other guns have reticle 92, which is sort of a Christmas tree reticle, so I can do quicker holdovers if I have to, but typically I dial for my yardage and hold for my win. So that's been hers. She's been able to shoot 1.1 inch groups with it. As a new shooter, that's a really, really good group. I've been able to shoot this gun sub MOA. I've shot 1/2 inch groups with it, 3/4 inch groups with it. So it's really nice to shoot. You stay in the scope the whole time. There's a couple tough spots yesterday where I carried both rifles through it, and you can hardly feel this thing. And up next, this has been my main rifle now for about a year. Just after last year's sheep hunt, I picked this Rival up. This is the Fierce CT Rival floor plate. I don't like clips in the backcountry if I'm really going for a multi-dayer because you can lose your clips, and then it's really tough to even hand feed. It can be done, but really tough. This guy's coming in at about 8 pounds, so pretty light still for a long-range rifle. It's got the vertical grip on it on the Rival, which I love, and it's got the adjustable cheek rest, so just to get your eye perfectly aligned with that scope, because a lot of times if you're fighting to get that, that's when you're going to have more high and low shots. This sort of takes that out of the equation to make sure you're looking straight through the scope. It's also important, especially on uphill shots. A lot of time the tendency is to keep your bipod fairly low and then crane your neck looking. It results in a lot of high shots. What you really want to do is you want to, get that bipod stretched out and then get a rear rest to hold it so you really get a nice line of sight through that scope. Again, this is the Zeiss V6 3-1850. Yeah, this thing's super reliable. I got my sheep this year with this scope, I think at 530, so that was as close as we could get. Shot a moose with it last week at 70 yards, so just an offhand shot there. So this thing is a nail driver. This is better than a half-minute gun. This is, if you're doing everything you're supposed to do, this is going to put the bullets where you want it. It's got a Nix brake on it as well. It's a 22-inch carbon wrap barrel on this one. It's got the flush cups. Yeah, really nice gun. This is my main gun, I'm starting to get really drawn to these chassis because the ergonomics are amazing. This one here does have that vertical grip, which is what I consider essential. It's got a good palm swell, a nice thumb rest, so you can really, load straight back and put it on. I've done some training with Clark Precision with this rifle, and with what Murray and the gang takes you through there, you can really maximize what you can get out of these rifles, because really, once the rifles are dialed in, it's all about your fundamentals and shooting enough. It's more than just going out and shooting, a couple rounds every season to kick off and then 1 or 2 shots through the season. Although I did do that for a lot of years early on, I really like to get out, get a few boxes through the gun really feel comfortable and ready. No mistakes. I got a throw lever on this one too, which is super handy for the zoom. And last but not least is the newest addition. And I just had it out shooting it for the first time today. So this is the MDT Hunter 26 stock for chassis. It's got the full length ARCA rail. I've got a double pole bipod on it. It's kind of heavy, but for, you know, the type of the hunt I'm doing with my wife right now, it's no trouble bringing it around. I haven't been using this as my gun to shoot because it hadn't been validated yet, but I just successfully shot this gun out to 525 yards, and amazingly enough, like this thing, like, you know, when you usually get something to modify a gun, you put it in and it's kind of, there's some janky elements to it where it's like, yeah, it works okay, you tighten it down, whatever. This thing is precision matched for this Model 700 clone action here. This thing made it in perfect. The recoil lug is like right up snug, like really, really tight tolerances on this build. Yeah, there's not a lot more to say other than, you know, it really does seem like a good combo. I think, you know, there's a couple things. I mean, it's got the raising cheek riser too, which is essential. The way the chassis design is, you just have it pumped up a little bit more. It's got a nice forward cant on it, so it recoils away from your cheek, so it doesn't hit you in the face hard. Could probably use a better recoil pad. I think I'm going to put the Limb Saver pad off of my stock Rogue to deaden up that recoil a little bit. I mean, it's nothing too crazy. The other thing is it does have a nice palm swell. It has a fairly vertical grip. It's not quite as vertical as the Fierce, and it doesn't have quite as big of a thumb rest. Ideally, I like to have my thumb rested on this side so I'm not torquing the gun on recoil, and then I just load up the handle straight into me. It does have a solid feel to it, and the amazing part is, you know, so the gun was all sighted in before, shooting a solid 3/4 minute group. So I thought once I changed chassis, you know, I was going to have a drift, of course, you know, I was either going to be shooting high, left, right, whatever, and I'd have to retune it. Surprisingly, like extremely surprisingly, this thing lined up to be bang on the zero I had already set for it, validated out to 525. So, you know, that's pretty impressive. Maybe it's lucky. I'm not sure. You're definitely going to have to, you know, if you do a build like this, if you take a Fierce Rogue, this is a 20-inch barrel, and you put it on this chassis, obviously you're starting over, but fortunately enough for this build, it went smooth. Neat thing about this double pole is it can slide up and down the ARCA, so you can really get high angle shots much easier. And this carbon is kind of quiet when it slides. That was pretty amazing, and the carbon fiber doesn't seem to show any wear or tear or anything like that, so kind of neat to have an ARC in there. And this double pole MDT bipod also is compatible to Picatinny, so I can throw it on my rival and run it right off the pick rail if I want. So it's a pretty neat feature, really solid performing. I mean, I've only shot 3 shots through this right now. I shot 1 at my 100-yard zero and then 2 at 525. Both at 525 were good hits. The first hit was probably about a half a minute left, so I corrected a minute right and got a full minute correction on it, and then was half a minute to the right. So I've split the difference and came back. So You know, I'll have to shoot this a bunch more, you know, probably 3 or 4 boxes through it to really sort of get comfortable. The folder on this one, the Mountain Reaper, the Fierce, is at the top, which I like. This one here is here, which there's nothing wrong with it. It does make a little bit more noise though. So from a hunting perspective, it is a little louder. It locks rock solid, folds up nice, you know. But from a hunter perspective, see that? That's just a little bit loud. I wouldn't call it terrible. You can be quiet with it, but you got to watch yourself if it's in a run and gun. Gun cycles beautifully, you know. It's absolutely amazing, actually. So far, everything's a success. It's really nice to bring the Fierce brand, put it on an MDT chassis. That's 2 quality companies on this gun. 3, when you put in the Zeiss, again, this is 3 to 18 by 50 V6 scope. I got a bubble level on all these guns. Yeah, can't say enough good things about it. And, you know, again, this is coming in at about 8 pounds. Not with the bipods adding quite a bit, but without the bipod, this is about 8 pounds. So, and if you're shooting long range, I mean, I think that's pretty important. The clip release is kind of neat. It's integrated into the trigger guard. And if you are going to order one of these Hunter 26 chassis, you have to order your magazine for your caliber separately. Really positive lock in there. It's really flush. Nothing hangs up. You know, it releases nice and easy. Again, let's put her back in. So there, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, nice gun.